What's going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadskii, back again and to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video, and today we're here to look at the brand new KIZUNA clash featuring against Monkey D. Luffy, and we're going to go through all of the abilities and we'll give you guys a couple of different team compositions for taking on the regular 10-star version as well as the Super Boss. We'll have a brief look at that so you guys can get prepped and get ready to go for this KIZUNA, which I believe is starting on the 19th of July, so when it officially goes live, I will likely be live streaming it for you guys, and we'll see how everything goes. It's going to be an interesting event, that's for sure. But this event, just looking through what the gimmicks are, it looks pretty difficult. If you were lucky enough to pull Who's Who, Black Maria, Sasaki, those three Toby Ropo legends, this KIZUNA is going to be very easy for you. However, for players that didn't pull them, it's going to be a little bit more difficult because they've really focused these events on using those three characters. But let's go ahead and get into it. Let's start off with the first boss, which is versus Strength, and the battle one, you got Strength, Dex, and Quick characters receive cooldown. Very interesting that all three of them are reducing cooldown there, because you actually want to build a team for the Strength fight that has both Strength, Dex, and Quick characters on it. You actually want one of each, and you'll see why in just a moment. But you'll see Battle 2, there is going to be Paralysis for 5 turns, so that's kind of annoying. And then on the boss, there's going to be 2 red Pirate Penguins. And you see on like the other bosses, there's 2 green penguins and 2 blue penguins. So they make it in such a way where there are like, you know, the little penguins on the side, which allow you to kind of activate super tandem abilities, which I think is cool. But again, if you don't have those really key characters, it's going to be a pretty difficult event. But anyways, there's going to be immunity except for delay. So you can use a delayed conditional boost, which means that you can use Black Maria. And there is going to be a type change. So I believe this might actually be the first KIZUNA that I can think of that actually has a type change. So even though it is labeled as a strength boss, the boss can become Dex, Quick, or no change at all. And this is what I was saying earlier. You actually want to be building a team of Strength, Dex, and Quick characters so you can have type advantage against no matter what color Luffy turns into. I think that this is really dumb. For KIZUNA, like, we don't need type changes. There's literally, like, different colored bosses along the way. It is so dumb. I don't get it, but that's what they've done. Dex, Quick, or no change, so he'll stay as Strength. There's also going to be damage reduction, or threshold damage reduction, 5 turns of that, and there's going to be 5 turns of special bind. And when the boss HP is above, I think it's when you reach level 30, then you get an additional 1 turn of special bind and 1 turn of threshold, becoming 6 turns of special bind and 6 turns of threshold. So obviously quite a lot of debuffs here. Let's go ahead and see what we got. So first of which, let's have a look at a brief free-to-play team. So this team is a bit of an odd one, and of course I really wouldn't suggest using raw free-to-play teams in this content, but we're going to show it anyway. So for this fight, we've got Kaido Friend Captain with Drake, and I really wanted to make sure I had 2 Dex, 2 Strength, and 2 Quick characters in order to get around this fight. Remember that the super tandem effect, or the super class special should I say, of Kaido gives you the Wano slots and also the tandem slots on the bottom row, so you can actually activate the super tandem with this ability. Though if the boss does change into a Dex typing, then you can't really get the super tandem to activate efficiently, because it means that you can't get, you know, because you have to attack with the 2 strength characters to activate the super tandem ability. So it's probably not going to be super optimal against the Dex color, but against the others it should be okay. Now in terms of the paralysis, which happens on battle 2, this KIZUNA Jack's really good because he removes it, and he also provides a color affinity boost to strength driven and powerhouse characters for 3 turns, so you can have that for your crew, which is fantastic. Gives you a pretty substantial amount of damage output via that alone. And then you've got Chainlock with Perospero. You've got Ashura Doji, who is a very key component for this fight. Now, with the cooldown reduction, the ship, and, you know, at the start of the fight, he receives like 15 turns of cooldown. I'm not too sure if he's exactly going to be ready on Battle 3. You may have to do a couple of turns of stall on Battle 1 just to be safe, but he's going to be very cool because you can use his special ability to get rid of 6 turns of special bind and 6 turns of threshold. He's ridiculously good. We have free-to-play Rogue here, which gives us an attack boost, so that's the only reason why he's here. And then Drake is just a pretty decent free-to-play captain, being a 3.5 boost to Strength, Dex, and Quick. And also his special ability will provide the resistance down for Strength, Dex, and Quick, giving you a little bit of additional damage output there. So in terms of a free-to-play team, you can see the damage against the 3 colors. It's like not the best team you'll ever see, but hey, it is a free-to-play team that should work. So now we're moving on to a little bit of a different team here. This team is using obviously more summonable characters, and with this team, we're able to get some pretty crazy damage potential here with, you know, with Black Maria as the friend captain, and also Law. Both of them resist paralysis as a captain, so you don't have to really worry about Battle 2 at all. But on the final boss stage, in terms of getting around Special Bind and the damage threshold, this KIZUNA Rare Recruit Bon Clay actually removes 6 turns of Special Bind and Threshold. So he's a pretty decent replacement, as well as Ashura Doji. You can still definitely use him, and he's still a pretty solid unit. So there's a couple of units you can use in order to get around Special Bind and the Threshold. I believe the KIZUNA Rare Recruit Usopp and Brook that were in the KIZUNA Sugo Fest also get around a lot of those gimmicks too. But we've also got like Luffy and the Straw Hats. They're just great because they give you so much additional damage, of course, with their final tap abilities. You've got the orb boosting effect with the Black Maria, and also the delayed conditional boost, which you are allowed to activate on this stage. So that gives a pretty substantial damage output there. Law provides an attack boost, and all the characters on this team are either Free Spirit or Cerebral, so he works perfectly with them. And then we've got the Hancock Nami Robin. Now, ideally with this, you would only really use their special if the enemy is the Dex variation. Otherwise, you pretty much wouldn't be using their special. And then, of course, you've got Borsalino, which provides a huge chain boost and a color affinity boost to Strength Dex Quick. But of course, if you're up against the Dex variation, you just use Hancock special instead, because their color affinity is better. Because Hancock, Nami, and Robin don't actually provide a conditional boost or the color affinity boost to Black Maria, because Black Maria is not a striker or a free spirit, so it doesn't really work with her specifically. But I guess if the boss is quick or Dex, you could actually use the Hancock Nami Robin to give you better color affinity than what you would be getting, you know, with the Borsalino color affinity instead. But it does depend on the situation, of course. So it does a pretty decent amount of damage. Should last a pretty long time. But obviously, if you have characters like the new Usopp or the new Brook, you'd probably want to build teams around those characters, as you'll get more tickets for the KIZUNA and also Super Boss coins. So now moving on to the Dex variation here. With Battle 1, we get cooldown reduction to Free Spirit, Powerhouse, and Slasher characters. We got Battle 2, which gives 2 turns of Special Reverse, and then your specials are going to be locked, where you cannot, you know, naturally reduce the cooldowns. You have to use cooldown reduction specials or crewmate abilities in order to get around this effect. So you actually literally have to bring special reverse mechanics. And then the boss stage has a lot of things going on. So there's going to be 2 green penguins. There's going to be an immunity except for defense down. So you can use a defense down conditional boost on this stage. And there's going to be a barrier, so you have to hit 1 tap for 5 turns. So you need at least 1 slot of either Strength Dex or Quick, because it is random. So you ideally want to be running at least 1 Strength, 1 Dex, and 1 Quick, giving them a matching slot, just so you can guarantee yourself to hit through that barrier. There's also unfavorable slot change, which isn't ideal, of course. And there's going to be resilience, 5 turns of resilience and 5 turns of defense up. However, there's going to be an interrupt if you activate an end of turn damage special. And if you do that, then all of your beneficial effects and accumulated values are going to be removed. And also there is going to be ship bind ability. So you do not want to activate any effect that does end of turn damage here. And of course, once the boss reaches level 30 or higher, there's going to be resilience +1 and defense up +1, so it becomes 6 turns of resilience and 6 turns of defense up, which is not ideal to deal with. It's a lot of actual gimmicks you have to deal with here. So you need Strength Dex Quick, unfavorable slot change, resilience, defense up, special reverse on the prior stage. I think this one looks to be probably the most difficult of all of the ones thus far, just in terms of the amount of gimmicks that are in this particular fight. So taking on the Dex variation with a free-to-play team, this one is a little interesting. We're going to be using Roger and Odin as the 2 free-to-play captains here, both of which are actually pretty good. Roger in particular is very good for this KIZUNA because of his double special activation, being able to get rid of the resilience with the 2 specials. And also he gets rid of defense up, so he's literally perfect for this fight. It is unfortunate that he's not actually a boosted character in this KIZUNA, even though he is a previously released KIZUNA character. Now, one thing about this team as well is that the little special for Odin to activate his superclass special is not active, so actually all of this would be boosted by 1.75, so it actually does do like decent free-to-play damage, I suppose. Just talking about the characters here, Okiku's really good. She has special reverse, so she does like special cooldown for your characters. She resists 2 turns of special reverse, so you can use her on Battle 2 to get your cooldowns. Zora gives color affinity. You can use Mihawk on Battle 2 as well, just for some damage potential. And the 2 captains of Odin and Roger both provide like Cyanid, and then Strength Dex and Quick is beneficial to your team. So all your type slots are matching naturally, which is fantastic. You got attack boost with the superclass here. orb boost with the super class here, and then you've got the Rebecca, which if you're at full HP when you reach the final boss stage, you actually get a defense down conditional boost, and you are allowed to activate defense down towards the enemy. So even if, you know, Roger didn't have the ability to remove defense up, you've at least got the ability to just make their defense 0 and get a conditional boost out of it. Plus, Rebecca does do a 1.0 chain boost, so she's actually really good, and she's a free spirit unit. She has great synergy with the rest of the characters here. So this seems like a pretty decent free-to-play team, I suppose. And this is another team that you can build, which uses obviously more summonable characters, and we've got the Ace as our main captain, the Versus Ace, because he actually resists special reverse, so that's fantastic. We can use that to just deal with all of the stuff that happens on Battle 2, and then on Battle 3 we have to deal with the Resilience, and the best way to get around Resilience is by using Luffy and the Straw Hats, because their final tap actually resists or goes through the Resilience debuff. And then for defense up, we've got the Kinemon and Denjiro, plus they provide a huge orb boost, 2.75 times to our Slasher and Free Spirit characters, which of course is the whole team. So with Ace, if you give him a support that gives him a matching slot on the final stage, you'll be able to make sure that when you use his special, you can get Chain Boundary. But of course, you want to use Kinemon and Denjiro first, because their orb boost is actually better than Ace's. So you get 2.75 orb boost, 2.75 attack boost, you get your Chain Boundary, Color Affinity, 2.75 Color Affinity, you've got a Chain Boost, and then you'll have Chain Boundary as well. Together with that, you'll have a conditional boost of defense down. You got Luffy's final tap ability. This team outputs crazy good damage. Well, I say crazy good damage, but it's good damage nonetheless, right? Of course, it isn't using any of the boosted Usops or Brooks or anything like that, but it's a pretty decent team, does good damage that should be able to get the job done. And then switching it up for the final regular battle here, we've got Monkey D. Luffy, which is the quick variation. So we've got Battle 1 with Free Spirit, Powerhouse, and Cerebral characters getting cooldown. Battle 2, we've got 2 turns of paralysis, and then they cut your health in half, but then when you kill Battle 2, you get dealt 50,000 damage. So that absolutely sucks, and of course it is built to be using Sasaki special here, because Sasaki can give you that huge damage reduction on activation. It makes a lot of sense, and especially with paralysis of 2 turns, if you actually have Black Maria as a crewmate, her crewmate ability actually resists 2 turns of paralysis if you fulfill her condition, I think. So it makes a lot of sense if you're using, you know, all of these boosted units, but it's just really, really annoying. So in a lot of cases, if you're not using the Toby Ropo characters, you will have to use some damage reduction effects. And then boss stage is going to be 2 blue penguins. There's going to be regular immunity, slot change into recovery for your crew, 8 turns of despair, and attack down. If your attack is if your chain is below 2.9, you get given attack down. So you need to have at least a 3.0 chain lock or a higher chain boost. And then post level 30, 1 turn of despair extra, and then for 5 turns, all your type slots are going to be counted as non-beneficial. So you need to be using recovery slots, tandem slots, Wano slots, rainbow slots, etc. You don't want to be using type slots on the quick fight post level 30. It's going to spell really, really bad things for you. So this is our free-to-play team that we have here, and this is actually a really solid free-to-play team. Now, the really cool thing about this is that Koala, she's a really good free spirit captain, 3.75, but she also resists 2 turns of paralysis, which means when we reach battle 2 and we get inflicted with 2 turns of paralysis, the captain ability of Koala will resist that, so we only really need to worry about tanking the damage when we kill that mini-boss. So Roger's special ability does provide you with an 80% damage reduction upon activation, so we can use his special ability there. You can actually use it twice if you need to just tank that damage, which is great. You can also use the Sobermask special, because if you hit a certain amount of perfect, you actually get given a really big chain boost in the following turn, or alternatively, you could use Koala there as well to get you an attack boost, because we've also got Luffy and Ace as a sub, which already provide a 2 times attack boost and a 1.75 times color affinity. Now, when we reach the boss stage, we've actually got Luffy's special ability to give us a full board of tandem slots, and then of course we'll have his super class special to buff the orb boost and get a base attack boost for our characters, but also he removes all the despair that gets inflicted to us as well, so it's so good. And then we've also got the treasure map Sabo to give us a chain boundary. So we've got chain boundary, we've got chain boost, orb boost, base attack boost, color affinity boost. This is a pretty good team in terms of free-to-play that'll last, a pretty long time in this event. So not too shabby, honestly, not too bad. And of course, this is a more, summonable focused team. And once again, we can use Roger to deal with the battle 2, tanking the damage. 80% damage reduction is very good. Now, we do have to deal with paralysis. So ideally, you just use like a Rayleigh support or something, just a support to get around the paralysis. Shouldn't be too difficult. And then on the final boss stage, of course, once again, using the same strategy with, with Luffy, getting the full board of tandem slots and just abusing that to the fullest extent. And of course we will get the super class special to activate, because Luffy and the Straw Hats does count as all of the Straw Hats, so we can actually get this to activate. We've got a really strong attack boost with the Ace and Yamato, and remember, when we actually reach the final boss stage, our health is going to be pretty low, which means when we activate the special ability of Perona, we get the guaranteed conditional boost, which is so good, and she also provides a chain lock, or she can buff a chain lock that we have, so we could use the switch effect of Ace and Yamato. We wouldn't get the super switch, but even just the regular switch, and then using the special ability of Perona will actually make their regular 1.6 chain boundary become a 2.1 chain boundary, which is very strong actually. And then you've got a really strong chain boost here and color affinity with Borsalino, and of course the final tab of Luffy and the Straw Hats just to finish it off as well. This team should last a pretty long time in the KIZUNA. In terms of regular bosses, this is like severe overkill, but still really impressive to see a lot of damage. So now we can talk about Super Boss. Now Super Boss, of course, way more difficult. You do need to build teams that are really focused on doing huge damage potential. So I'm not building free-to-play teams for this one, and I'm only showing one team for each of them, and they're definitely not final teams, but they're just some ideas that can get the little bit of the brain juices flowing, you know what I mean? So here we go with Battle 1. Free Spirit and Cerebral characters receive cooldown, but also Free Spirit and Cerebral dual units are going to be receiving their Super Switch. So do keep that in mind. Super Switch is going to be kind of important here to get the most damage possible. Battle 2, you got 10 million health, 2 turns of defense up, 5 turns of despair, and after 1 turn has passed, if you do not kill Battle 2, you're given 5 turns of attack down and super block slots. Now currently, we don't know how super block slots work. We have seen in data mines what the slot looks like. It looks very similar to a regular block slot, just with more color added to it. We don't know how they work. We don't know what kind of gimmicks are associated with super blocks, so don't ask because we have no idea yet. But hopefully they're not too bad to get around. It looks like it could be a bit of an issue, but we'll have to wait and see. And on the boss stage is going to be immunity except for defense down. So if you have a defense down conditional boost, you can use that. And you can also see that there's block slots. There's going to be 2 turns of threshold and 4 turns of paralysis. So there's not as many gimmicks for Super Boss, but of course the boss has a crazy amount of HP, so it still makes it relatively difficult to get around. But of course the fact that it's a strength boss, Free Spirit Cerebral, there's going to be paralysis, there's a very clear, and I mean even the fact that you can use defense down, very clear option in terms of who you should be using as a captain. And that clear captain is going to be Trafalgar Law. He just does literally everything you could possibly want in this battle. Now the team obviously isn't like the final team that I would really suggest. It's just some random units that I've kind of thrown together that just synergize well. The main reason why Kuja Pirates is here is because you can use them on Battle 2 and they can give you an attack boost, they can give you a conditional boost, and they get rid of the defense up. And remember, there's going to be 2 turns of Blue Shield on Battle 2, and there's also going to be 5 turns of Despair, which goes down to 2. So with like a Corazon support, you can get around that relatively easily. And then in terms of other supports, ideally the new VV support on the Straw Hats allows you to remove the 2 turns of Threshold on the final boss stage. Law's Captain ability gets rid of the paralysis. Law's Super Tandem ability, or Super Class ability, really gives him the Tandem slot, which allows you to then, you know, get the conditional boost of 2.25 against defense down enemies, and you can apply that on the enemy, which is great. And of course, in terms of getting matching slots, we can go ahead and use the Yamato, which allows you to get the Wano slots, changes block slots into Wano. And yeah, so you'd ideally want to go ahead and use the Law first in order to get the Tandem slot, and then use Yamato to change the other slots into Wano. Because the really cool thing here is the fact that Law, you actually get the conditional boost even if you have a quick slot, a Tandem slot, or a Wano slot. So great synergy here with Yamato, and Yamato obviously provides a really good chain boosting effect. Komurasaki gives you a really good color affinity boost to Free Spirit and Cerebral, 2.25, and then Luffy and the Straw Hats just to wrap it all up to give you a lot of additional damage. Of course, this is not the final team that I'll be using in this KIZUNA, not even too sure what I'm going to be building yet, but it's just an idea that you guys can kind of, you know, start with at least, and then build from this. Looking at the second super boss, we have DEX, and Powerhouse and Striker are the characters that receive the cooldown, and it's interesting, right? The fact that it's a DEX boss, and then Powerhouse and Striker receive cooldown. I know immediately one character who comes to mind that would be very good here. Now, Battle 2, 15 million HP this time around, 2 turns of paralysis, and 2 turns of burn, and makes it easier to hit perfects for 2 turns. So that's super annoying because it means there's a good high chance that you're going to be taking some burn damage here. So you may need to run some key supports in order to get around some of these gimmicks on this battle. When you actually defeat the enemy on that fight, you get dealt 40,000 damage, so you definitely want to get rid of the burn, or you want to have a very good damage reduction ability. But if you do not kill the enemy after 1 turn, they bind 3 characters for 8 turns. That sucks. And also they bind your ship ability for 5 turns. So there's not a lot of characters that can get around ship bind. There's only a very fair few of them that actually get rid of the effect with the potential ability. So you ideally probably want to actually kill the enemy, get around the burn, but I guess it's kind of interesting because they kind of allow you to build in 2 separate ways. Either you tank the abilities here, or you can wait 1 turn and then deal with these abilities. Because remember, if you do not kill the enemy on turn 1, they give you these abilities and then they run away. So it is depending on what kind of team you want to build. But on the boss stage, there's going to be regular immunity for 99 turns. There's going to be unfavorable slot change, 2 turns of threshold, 2 turns of attack down, and there's going to be an interrupt if you use a base attack boost, so like a Bon Clay special, for example. So if you use a base attack boost, they remove your beneficial effects and accumulated values, and they give 3 random characters 5 turns of bind. So ideally, don't use a base attack boost special here, unless if it's through a support, because the enemy does not react to it. So lots of really annoying gimmicks here, definitely more annoying comparatively to the strength fight, as there's not a lot of characters that can outright resist a lot of these debuffs straight off the bat. So yeah, this one is going to be definitely more difficult. So this is the team that we have here. I want to give a shout out to one of my alliance members, Vang, who was kind of like throwing this team idea around. I'm not really too sure if this one is going to be somewhat similar to what we'll build at the moment, but it's interesting nonetheless. So this team is a couple of key supports. There's going to be page 1 support attached to X Drake, which allows you to get rid of the attack down on, I believe, battle 5, or battle 3 should I say. There's also going to be the Barto special, or Barto support attached to this Luffy and the Straw Hats, which gets rid of the paralysis. I think it's like 2 turns of paralysis on the final boss stage as well. And also there's going to be the Arena Queen attached to King, and you'd be using the King special on battle 2, because when you use King special, he's going to give you the attack boost and stuff, which is great, but also the fact that when you launch the special, the Queen support activates, removing 3 turns of burn on your crew, so you don't have to worry about that at all, which makes things a lot easier. It makes battle 2 more accessible for you to actually beat. And of course, we've got attack boost, chain boundary. You got obviously Kaido with his amazing ability. You've got the orb boost, the conditional boost, increased damage taken. Remember, increased damage taken and the super tandem abilities are not calculated into this, so this is really going to do absurd damage. Like, probably would do easily 10 billion damage with everything calculated. It's going to be pretty absurd, especially at level 5. It's going to be nuts. And then you finish off with Luffy and the Straw Hats. I mean, yeah, this team is going to hit incredibly hard, but of course, very key supports of page 1, Barto, Arena Queen, definitely would make the team a lot better. If you don't have them, it's going to make it very difficult for a team like this to actually win, but this could potentially work. We'll have to wait and see how things progress, and of course, I'll show you my teams when the Super Boss officially does release. And the final Super Boss against the quick variation, Strength and Dex characters receive the cooldown, including the Super Switches. Battle 2, only 4.5 million, so a lot easier to beat. So there's going to be attack down based on your chain multiplier, so you have to exceed 2.5, and that's the only way you can do damage on that fight. That really does hurt. It means you actually need some type of chain boost or chain lock on battle 2, but there's also 2 turns of special reverse that absolutely sucks, and your specials are going to be locked, so you have to have some type of special or multiple specials that give you cooldown reduction in order to actually get your specials back. This is going to be very annoying to deal with, but luckily only 4.5 million HP, so very easy to kill. The boss stage, regular immunity, 99 turns. There's going to be block slots. There's going to be 2 turns of paralysis, 2 turns of threshold, and there's going to be an interrupt regarding a chain boost. That really hurts, because chain boosting is one of the best ways to increase your damage potential on super bosses, and the fact that they're going to react to it just hurts. So they remove your beneficial effects and accumulated values, and they bind 3 random characters for 5 turns. So yeah, don't use a chain boost unless if it is through a support effect. That's the best ways to get the most damage on the quick battle. So lots of different gimmicks here on the quick fight. So this is the team that I just thought of right now. So as for right now, I'm not too sure how this one's going to work, but ideally you start as the Strength Yamato so you can switch into the Dex Ace on the final stage. But we've got Borsalino, which allows you to deal with battle 2 in terms of he resists the special reverse on himself. So you can use his special ability to get -1 cooldown to your crew, crew. He gives you color affinity and a really good chain boost, and that chain boost will allow you to exceed that attack down chain effect. So that's really, really good, and hopefully we have a good type color on Battle 2, because if it ends up being a really bad color, I think this team will kind of struggle. But at least you'll have this Luffy, which you can switch between Dex and Strength. That probably won't really matter. You'll have Strength Yamato up at the time, so there'll be a little bit of variety in the team comp here. Now, when you reach the boss stage, remember, you still have to deal with a couple of other special cooldown effects. So, you got this Leo here, which actually does resist all turns of special reverse on himself when it's reversed. And you can use his special ability, which will reduce the top row characters by 1. So, it'll allow your 2 captains to get -1 special cooldown. You have also -1 from the Borsalino special on Battle 2, which means that Ace and Yamato will be ready to go. And their special ability also provides a special cooldown reduction to your Striker, Shooter, and Free Spirit characters, so all your characters will be ready on Battle 3. You've got Luffy for the full board of slots, the tandem slots. You've got the Despair Removal, Orb Boost, and you've also got his Super Class effect, which can be activated. You've got the Ace and Yamato. You'll have their Super Switch, which gives you the Ignite effect on the enemy. You'll have their Conditional Boost. You'll have the 2.5 Chain Boundary. You'll have everything with Ace and Yamato. You've got the Whitebeard, who is kind of an interesting one. He does provide a color affinity boost to Powerhouse and Free Spirit units, but you could probably you could probably change him out for something else. But he does have a very, very key support on him, because as for supports that are on this team, we have the new Vivi. This is going to be attached to Luffy and the Straw Hats. We have Whitey Bay on the Ace and Yamato, which actually allows us to get a chain boost because it is a support chain boosting effect. And then we'd also have the Izo Endo Kiku attached to Whitebeard, which gets rid of the paralysis that occurs on Battle 3, allowing you to deal with that a lot easier. So yeah, I'm not too sure. Once again, this is just a couple of ideas that I had flowing for the versus quick team, but I think this one is also going to be very, very tricky to build a really optimized team for. As if you have, you know, the Toby Ropo characters, definitely make some of these team buildings a lot easier, especially for the regular KIZUNA fights. But hopefully some of these team comps in this video helps you guys out in terms of being prepared for the upcoming KIZUNA. So that's going to wrap it up for me. Thank you so much for watching the video, and if you guys did enjoy it, make sure to go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content that I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. But other than that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.